Essentially, what Mark O'Mara is saying, that there has been a politicization. This has become politicized, this case. And I want to throw this out to Jason Johnson. You're a political science professor. I think one of the biggest criticisms was how the young lady who was on the phone with Trayvon Martin during this tragedy, as it started, right up to the crucial moments, how she was interviewed by prosecutors during her deposition, the mother of victim Trayvon Martin sitting by her side, and the defense has referred to that repeatedly as something that was inappropriate. Your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I think the biggest issue here, and everyone in Sanford who I spoke to said this, had the cops done their due diligence from day one, then Ben Crump wouldn't have had to get involved. Then Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton wouldn't have had to get involved. And so the defense has always claimed that this was this huge political problem, but really it has to do with a lack of effort on the part of the police. And I think that some of the mistakes that were made about when the tape was played to the family and how Rachel Jeantel was interviewed, all of that happened because people were frustrated and basically had to take the law into their own hands because they didn't think that the police had done their job. And so this is what ends up happening. And I think it was understandable for Ben Crump to do what he did, but you know, these people aren't law enforcement, and they had to do what they could when the police didn't do their job.
All right, so Jason, the other part of this is I talked to a number of people in the area yesterday, and some people were saying, hey, there have been other crimes here where young black men have been shot, have been injured or killed, and there's been no prosecution. And so a lot of them were lauding the idea that a lawyer was out there bringing this to the attention of the public so that something could be done about it. So talk to me about that and whether or not this case impacts other cases that may come down where people feel like, hey, something happened and maybe I don't believe police did their job. I'm going to find somebody who can push my case.
And I think that's an excellent thing. And one of the things a lot of people who I've spoken to have said, gosh, you know, cops up in Massachusetts arrested Aaron Hernandez with nothing but a broken cell phone, some security cameras, and the fact that he brought Molly maids to his house. And they arrested that guy, and he's a millionaire. Why, with the questions that they had about George Zimmerman, couldn't they bring him in? And, you know, maybe it's because his last name was Hernandez. I mean, there's a lot of skepticism out there and cynicism about whether or not the police take the death of African Americans as seriously as they take the deaths of other people. So, yes, from a larger societal impact, I don't necessarily think that anyone can score political points, but I do think there will be many families from Sanford, from Chicago, from LA, from New York who say, look, if I think that my son or daughter, this person was hurt and the police are not moving fast enough, I will call my alderman, I will call a police officer, I will call the city manager, because justice can't just wait for the police if people don't believe that the police are operating equally.
But I want to say one thing. You make some excellent points. I am holding the jury instructions. The cloud over this case has from the get-go, and one of the reasons why he wasn't immediately charged, the stand your ground law. Now, a lot of people thought, well, that disappeared because the defense didn't take an opportunity to have a pretrial hearing on stand your ground, an immunity hearing. But it didn't, because it's written right into the jury instructions, and it's right there. If George Zimmerman was not engaged in an unlawful activity and was attacked in any place where he had a right to be, he had no duty to retreat, and he had the right to stand his ground and meet force with force, including deadly force. When I heard that, I was like, whoa, stand your ground. Right there, it hasn't gone anywhere.
Well, the other part of that, though, is the idea that the idea was that he claimed immunity, so there wouldn't have even been a trial.
Yes.
So invoking that stand your ground would have enabled him to avoid a trial, but the idea is Ben Crump brought that forward. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue this discussion. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get the other side of it, too, go back and forth, and remember, in preparation for a verdict, there's always an increased presence, sometimes police, others. Everyone is paying attention to this case. We'll talk about that, too.